Hey everybody, it's Jordan with Jordan Reviews It All, and I just finished Gork the Teenage Dragon. I know in my last video I said it would take a couple days. Well, yesterday I ended up reading 150 pages, and today I read the last 80 or so, and I wanted to go ahead and make this video while it was still fresh in my mind about everything that happened. I've put together my own rating system, 1 through 5 stars, with different categories, and I'll be explaining that with each of my books that I read. But a little overview of what this is about. Obviously, it's about Gork. He's a teenage dragon. His name is Gork Terrible. His parents were killed on their way to Earth as they were trying to, as they were sent to Earth to conquer Earth and be the rulers. But their parents died on the way there. Gork survived. He was hatched there. He lived there for about 3 years on his own until his grandfather, Dr. Terrible, came and rescued him and took him back to their home planet. And this entire, majority of this book, except for the first couple chapters and about the last 20 pages, everything else takes place within one day, which is very interesting to me. It is extremely detailed on what happened during that day. In that day, Gork is looking for his queen, so they can start the egg harvest. And what they do is, when he finds his queen, then they go back to a different planet, and together they take over that planet. So probably about 95-97% of this book is all within one day. And I've never read a book like that before, so I found it very interesting. And it was detailed, obviously, extremely detailed, but not in a way that was boring. Once I got into this book at about page 150 or so, then I just kept reading and kept reading and kept reading, which is why I finished it so quickly. And overall I really did enjoy it. And so during this day, he goes and tries to win his queen over, and if he doesn't, if any dragon goes without finding their queen during this last day of their schooling at War Wings Academy, then they are sentenced to life as a slave. So it's either you find your mate and you go and conquer a world, or you're a slave for the rest of your life. And it was definitely a different take on how dragons are. In the very beginning of the book, in the introduction, the author kind of pokes fun at how like Beowulf was written, and even J.R.R. Tolkien's books, saying that the dragons in those books were nothing like what dragons really are. And I right off the bat I was already laughing because he was poking fun at these people. And so I had really, really high hopes for this book. And while some parts were a little awkward, overall this was a very fun read. I did like it. Some of the parts seemed very forced. Obviously, the whole point of this book is finding their queen, so that they can lay eggs, conquer the world. So there's a lot of sections about this that revolve around Gork's hormones, and being a teenage dragon, just like with any teenager, hormones are kind of raging. And some parts it was just a little awkward. How much detail that went into how lustful Gork was, and those parts were pretty awkward. Fortunately, the sections about that weren't more than a page long, and it wasn't the majority of the book. It was just every now and then he would go into detail that I felt was like a little much. Other than that, it was it was fun. So my rating system, at least for right now, I'm going through 1 through 5 stars in different categories. My first my first category is the language or the writing style, how I felt the book flowed as far as that goes. And I'm going to give Gork a 3 stars out of 5 stars for writing style. The I gave it a 3 because it was easy to follow along with, and it became a very quick read, which is nice because you don't always want to spend your time rereading paragraph after paragraph because you're just not understanding it. It was a very easy read, and that was nice, but there were a lot of repetitive phrases, such as Gork referring to himself as having his scaly green ass. It was very weird. Like, I fell on my scaly green ass, and he was after my scaly green ass, and it was just very, very repetitive to the point where it wasn't very amusing. It was just weird. The other issue I had with it were there were a lot of weird trademarks for things that didn't exist, such as Grow gel, which is what Gork would spray on his horns, which are trying to make them larger. But I felt it was very weird to include so many trademarks for things that don't exist. It kind of brought me out of the immersion, seeing those so often. And the other issue I had was there was a lot of italics. He used italics to portray when Gork was thinking to himself, which is fine. But he also used it whenever there was like certain kind of like almost telepathic conversations, or when he would communicate to someone else using his power staff, and it made it a little confusing because some sections where he was communicating with someone non-verbally, and then in the next paragraph he's thinking to himself, and so it made it a little confusing at times. But it ultimately you can figure it out. It's not too bad. So I gave it a 3. My next section is creativity. I'm giving this one a 5 star. It is like nothing I've ever read, and in a good way. I really did like the aspect of it taking place mostly within a day, because to be able to write a book nearly 400 pages where almost all of it takes place in one day without it being so detailed and full of fluff that it gets boring, that's pretty impressive to me. And so I really feel like this book is very, very creative, so I'm giving it 5 stars. My immersion in the book, I give it a 4 stars. Once it did pick up around page 150, 175, then I really got into it, and I was just wanting to read more and more and more. Before that, it was a little, still getting used to his writing style, and it was just a little bit hard to get going at first. So the first 150 pages I had to, I took several days just to read those, but after that, I just read it so fast. So the middle and the ending made up for the slow beginning, so I'm giving it a 4 stars. Would I read this book again? Not likely. 2 stars. I did enjoy reading this, as I've said many times, but it is one of those things where reading it once is enough. And it was nice to read, but I just don't see myself wanting to spend the time to read it again. I would rather go into other things, read other things. And so my other my other category is how much did I like the story? I'm giving it 4 stars. Because once it picked up, like I said, I really did like it. It was very interesting, and I think Gabe Hudson did a very good job. And so, I mean, if any book that I can read 150 pages within, a few hours during a day, if I want to keep reading, then obviously it's good enough that I really did like reading it. So, overall score, based on those 5 categories, I'm giving it 3.6 out of 5 stars. So basically, would I recommend this book? If you want something a little different, and if you like books about dragons and fantasy, I would go ahead and give this a try. It's not amazing, but it is very, very, very good. And I feel like it was worth my time to read it. It was just really fun, and so I would definitely pick it up if you're thinking about it. The intended audience, I believe he was going for young adult, which makes it, a lot nicer. It's kind of an easy read for older people, young adult to adult. It's going to be a nice, easy read. My only criticisms, or my big criticisms with this book, like I said, some parts were pretty awkward when Gork was lustful. It turned into kind of like a cheesy romance novel at times, where it went into a little too much detail, and I wasn't crazy about it. The ending was rushed. The last 30 pages or so were all about what happened, and after the day that he was looking for his queen. And there's a span of about maybe like 4 months within the last 30 pages, and it's very rushed, and I didn't too much enjoy that. The other thing I felt was weird is, for a 377 page book, there are 97 chapters, meaning there's a lot of chapters that are a page or 2 pages long, and I felt that was unnecessary. I can see why Gabe Hudson did it that way, because it was kind of like one chapter he's talking about one thing, and then he switches to another thing within the next chapter. But I feel like breaking it up that much was unnecessary. So other than that, though, I think it was a good book, and it was pretty funny. I did like it. So again, if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for something a little bit funny, I would try Gork the Teenage Dragon by Gabe Hudson. I will put a link in the description, an Amazon link, to where you can pick up your own copy, or you can buy it off a Kindle. So if you're looking to read it, you can find it. I believe the hardback copy is only a few dollars. The Kindle copy, I believe, is about $8. So it is worth it. But like I said, if you're looking for a book that you're going to want to read and reread, probably not what you want. But for something fun, something different, definitely give it a try. So the next book I'm going to be reading is Dune by Frank Herbert. I actually have the first 3 books here. I believe there are 6. But anyway, I'm going to be reading the first one, obviously, which is just called Dune. And it is quite lengthy, nearly 900 pages. So it will be taking me a little while to read this. As you can see, it's quite small print. So it will be taking me some time to read this. Now, Dune is actually well known. And I did want to read books that were more, you know, that were more as never been heard of type books, but I've heard a lot of good things about Dune, and I've never read it, and up until, 6 months ago, I'd never even heard of Dune, even though it's supposed to be like one of the staples for sci-fi and pave the way for sci-fi books. So I wanted to give it a try. I will be starting obviously with the first one, and if I like it, I will be going on to the next one. If I don't care for it much, then I'm just going to go ahead and move on to something else. So that will be the next book. I will put a link in the description for where to get this book to, in case you want to follow along as I read it. I'm not entirely sure how long this book is going to take me. I hope to get it done within a week. We will see if that happens. It depends on how much I can immerse myself in it, and life. If life gets in the way, it's going to take me a little longer. But I will try to get this book done within a week and make my next video once I'm done with it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video I've made today about Gork the Teenage Dragon. And I've kind of lost my words. And I do hope that you will, follow along, maybe read Dune with me if you haven't already. If you have, then go ahead and leave in the comments what you thought about it. So I am going to go ahead and sign off for this video. If you all would like to leave some comments, have some questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button so that you can follow along and know when I post my next videos. And I have to admit, I am having fun with this new series I'm doing. It is a way that I am motivating myself to read more and expand my horizons, and it's definitely fun. So I can't wait to make the next video. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. I'm Jordan, and this is Jordan Reviews It All. See you next time.